Say what you will about FM26, and I know a lot of you have. I'm not blind to the internet, but one thing it has got absolutely right is it can simulate through the seasons faster than any FM game I've ever played before. And we have now gone 1,000 years into the future. And in this video, we are going to have a rummage through the database of 1,000 years in the future to see what Football Manager thinks is going to happen for the next 1,000 years. And in fact, it's so good at holidaying that I actually missed 1,000 years by several years. And we've actually made it just over 1,000 years in. My current save point is actually about 1,250 years in. I'm just leaving it going at this point to see how far it can go. Usually when you hit about the 1,000-year mark, it just starts crashing constantly. And I know it's a very ironic thing to say about FM26. It's still not crashing. It is just motoring on, simulating into the future. And you never know, we might have our first ever 2,000 years in the future video at some point in the next few weeks. But 1,000 years in the future, I mean, we can get a good idea of where we are, even though we've missed it by a couple of years. And this is what the Premier League table looks like. I mean, who'd have thought, with Miles being a Watford fan, that Watford are top of the Premier League 1,000 years in the future? Not just top of the Premier League now, but as you can see, I mean, they've won 1,141 major honours, including 38 Champions Leagues, 168 Premier Leagues. I don't know what the Intercontinental Champions, that's Bret the Hitman Hart, isn't it? But they've won 9 FIFA Club World Cups, 28 UEFA Super Cups, 6 Europa Leagues, 121 FA Cups, and 3 Conference Leagues. Watford enjoying the future, it is fair to say. So that's frustrating. I mean, as a Peterborough fan, this is even more frustrating, seeing Cambridge 4th in the Premier League, and they do have a couple of Premier League wins. Cambridge United, 2 Premier League wins, 5 FA Cups. Bearing in mind, I already know this is a future where my beloved Peterborough United have been in non-league for like 1,000 years. And Cambridge have got 2 Premier League wins, and I assume they were probably quite recent because they are up there at the top of the league as it stands right now. We'll have a look at the past winners in a little while, but other teams in the Premier League, Woking are up there, Liverpool is still up there, Arsenal are back up there. If you saw the 500 years in the future video I did a week or so back, Arsenal were down in League 2 with Manchester City when I made that video, but Arsenal have now made it back up into the Premier League and have won just over half the amount of honours that Watford have won, including 4 Champions League wins in 1,000 years for Arsenal. I mean, it's 4 more than they've got now. We've also got, I mean, it's not a completely bonkers looking Premier League. Boston are up there. I guess that they'd be my local team now. Posh are long gone. So I'm a Boston guy now, presumably. I did grow up in Lincolnshire. They've got 10 championship wins amongst their 123 major honours, and Wimbledon up in the Premier League as well. I was supposed to be looking at the Premier League past winners. Let's get back to this screen. So past winners, most times one was Watford. I mean, you could probably gather that from 168 wins. I don't think we can see who is the second most winnerish. I don't think that's a stat that is tracked, unfortunately, but Watford holding quite a few of the records. Most points in a season, most wins in a season. Watford had a season nearly 400 years ago now, over 400 years ago, where they won 36 of the 38 games. Counter to that, Colchester had a season where they lost 37 of the 38 games, which is absolutely bananas. Crewe had a season where they didn't win a single game. Strangely, Crewe not in the Premier League anymore, as you can probably imagine. The highest average attendance, it doesn't say who holds that, but the highest one-off attendance, Birmingham versus Aston Villa, 141,000 fans turned up for that in 2803, which suggests Birmingham probably have quite a large stadium. We can't click on that to see it. The highest average attendance, there you go, is Watford, 139. Right, we need to go and look at Watford Stadium, which we can look at through here. Where do stadiums live? Fabio Park. So I guess they had a fancy player called Fabio at some point. Is it in club profile? Is that where you find? There you go. Fabio Park, 140,000 capacity. It's nearly 500 years old now. 2575 it was built. Average ticket price £65. There's not been that much inflation, has there, over 1,000 years? 126,000 season ticket holders though is absolutely bananas. Are Birmingham still in the Premier League? Can we see how big their stadium is as well, as they have the record attendance? They're not. If we find Birmingham on the way down, we will look to see how big their stadium is as well, presumably a little bigger than Fabio Park. Also interesting that it looks like over the last 500 years or so, the Premier League has gone back to becoming the most reputable team, most reputable league in Europe. When we did 500 years in the future, the Premier League had dropped down to like 20th place. I think the Finnish league was the biggest league around. It's now dropped down to third. Serie A is right up there. No sign of Germany. Also, there's Germany. Spain. Am I just missing Spain? There's Spain in 17th place. So they've fallen off a bit as well. France, where were France on there? France is a farmers' league. Who knew? We had to go 1,000 years in the future to find that out. And there's Scotland down in 30th place, below the Latvian league. Sorry, Scotland. I don't deliberately mean to have a dig at you, as often as I maybe do. Right, let's look at the past winners. So, past winners, I mean, it's Manchester United's glory period. Manchester United are fully back. They've won quite a lot. 9 Champions Leagues, 92 Premier Leagues. So Manchester United certainly enjoy, I guess they maybe got rid of Amorim and got someone a little bit more competitive for them again. Crystal Palace are the only ones to break the current Manchester United domination. Watford, despite being the most successful team in Premier League history, are just bridesmaids at the moment. It's been Manchester United for like a generation. My word, it goes back a long way. I just saw the Cambridge did theirs back to back. There you go. 29-78, 29-79, Cambridge winning twice and then disappearing back whence they came, presumably. I mean, they did have a couple of third places in there as well. Barnsley had a nice little run where they won quite a lot. Watford, just so many long periods of dominance, though, where they're having a lovely time. Barnsley with 6 Champions Leagues, 39 Premier Leagues. I mean, I don't think you complain too much about that as a Barnsley fan, do you? Hull are up there as well with a few wins. Bristol Rovers, who, when we did 500 years in the future, Bristol Rovers had the biggest stadium in the country. Do they still have such a thing? They play at the Yigit Vardar Arena, which is still, it's still 140,000 capacity. We know Birmingham's is bigger, though, because the record attendance was higher than that. It was like 141,000. So we do need to find Birmingham's stadium and work out just how big that is and maybe what league Birmingham are in to have moved into it. But then, I'm not... there you go. Oh, there you go. That's why they got such a big stadium. Birmingham had a period of absolute dominance a couple of 100 years ago and have now fallen off again. QPR had a nice time as well, but Birmingham winning 5 Champions Leagues, 70 Premier Leagues for Birmingham. And their stadium, if we can go and find their stadium, the Nathan Russell Park, was built in 2991 and he's only 140,000. So actually, the stadium that they set the record attendance in, they're no longer in. So they would have had a bigger stadium for a time. And if we still had a functional landmarks page, we could go and look at it. Alas, we do not. So we can't. FM26 things, boys and girls. Who else did we have in there that were worth a look? There's a lot of interesting stories. That's the thing when you go 1,000 years in the future. There's so much going on. We could genuinely spend an hour going through it. Also, if there is any stuff in the video that you'd like me to dig into in a bit more detail, I've got no objection to going into it in a bit more detail. You know what? I might even put the save file on Patreon so people who want to download it and have a nose through themselves can have a nose through. The link to that is down in the description below. What a nice guy. What a nice guy that Kev is. If we look at the Championship to see what's going on in the Championship. Sutton United and Truro are both in there. McDongs knocking around the place as well. We're looking for any obviously out-of-place teams. I don't know that there are a huge number of obviously out-of-place teams. If we move down to League One and see what's going on in League One, Burton and Maidenhead is the top two in League One. And then Brentford, Forest, both down there. Derby, Wrexham dropping down. Spurs down at that level. Leicester down there as well. And then if we move to League Two and see Huddersfield, Leeds, Bradford, Newcastle. It's all the north. League Two's become League One North. I don't know what Bromley and Leyton Orient are doing in there, but it's all the northern teams. Northampton down in there. Good. Although still above Posh. It's very upsetting. And then if we go down to non-league, we don't have the non-league leagues loaded, but what we can do is look at the stadiums in the National League to get an idea of what big teams are down here. So Birmingham, after that period of dominance a couple of 100 years ago, setting the all-time record attendance, are now down in non-league with Bournemouth, who also play in a 140,000 capacity stadium, and Manchester City, who play in a 120,000 seater stadium. And I mean, they've not had a very good 1,000 years, have they? 8 Champions Leagues, 39 Premier Leagues, down in non-league now. Poor old Manchester City, eh? And then to find Peterborough, which I'm going to do as a Posh fan, but it is genuinely depressing. We have to go down to the National League North, where we find out that in 1,000 years' time, we're still playing at the same stadium we're playing in real life now, which we've been promising for most of my lifetime we were looking to replace. So that's nice. Not many of the teams at this level seem to have got new grounds, which is interesting. Lancaster play at the Giant Axe. That must be real. From no way Football Manager is naming a ground the Giant Axe. I kind of want to go to the Giant Axe. Right, let's look at the Champions League. We know Watford have won it quite a lot, but let's see if they've won it more than anybody. If we go on to past, where they go, most time winners is Barcelona. So although England has been turned on its head and got a bit crazy, Barcelona still up there as I can't click on them. They are not clickable. But Barcelona, top team in the Champions League history. Real Madrid probably not going to be best pleased about that if we look at the past winners. So the Premier League, the English Premier League, is the top league in the world now. It's not reflected in Champions League winners, though. Manchester United, the most recent team to win it like 7 or 8 years ago. Barcelona don't seem to be dominating at any point. They just occasionally drop in and win one. They're just consistently quite good. Real Madrid are in there as well. They've won 88 Champions Leagues. How many had Barcelona won? Barcelona had won 123. Dortmund had won more than anybody when we did 500 years in the future. They've now won 116 and presumably biggest team in Germany. But you get some winners like Konyaspor, 9 times Champions League winners. Fairly unexpected, I would say. Portadown off of Northern Ireland, one time and one time only Champions League winners. If you are a Portadown fan, you need to live about 1,000 more years and then you can see your team win the Champions League, which, I mean, it's worth trying. If I were a fan of theirs, I would give it a go. I would try and live 1,000 years just to see that happen. Fulham with a couple of Champions League wins in there as well. There's some long periods of no English teams winning. Barnsley scattered about here and there is insane. There's a few teams I've just never heard of. Where are they even from? They're from Israel. There are some random teams. VPS, where are they from? I've just seen VPS appear. I can't find them again now. Let me know in the comments where VPS... there they are again. VPS are from Finland. So we know the Finnish league is a strong league. So there are a lot of Finnish teams that do quite well. And then just continuing to skip through, looking for anything. Forest with a couple more wins. How many have they won in total now? Just the 4. So they are the 2 extra on top of the 2 that they already had. And probably still telling everyone all about it all the time. To be fair, as I would if I were a Forest fan. But yeah, that is your Champions League. We're not going to dwell too much on the other UEFA competitions. We'll have a quick look, but kind of less interesting because there's so much variety. FC20, 39 times winners. The fact that there's the most successful team in it ever have only won it 39 times. Once you get somebody who really starts to dominate it, kind of by the structure of how it all sets up, they move up into the Champions League. So it does rotate the winners around quite a lot. I mean, it's quite interesting to see Real Madrid dropping into it a few times, but yeah, it's less interesting. And then the Conference League is bananas usually. So most times winners, Universitatea Craiovia. I don't know where they're from. Dynamo Brest are the most recent winners. And then there's a lot of teams there that I have never heard of. So if you see anyone really interesting as I'm scrolling through and you're pausing to have a look, feel free to shout about it in the comments. And like I say, if we find any really interesting stories, we can go into them in a little bit more detail in a potential follow-up video. But let's look at international football as well. So we've got the World Cup. World Cup most time winners is England with 86 World Cup wins. Again, nothing's clickable from that screen, but we can go on to past winners, I think. How do we get to past winners of the World Cup? Oh, there. It's a whole separate section. So past winners, there's a lot of England. UAE have got a few that I can see straight away on the screen there. UAE have won 21 World Cups, which is interesting because the UAE League has been added to FM26, so clearly that makes a bit of a difference. Malaysia with 3 World Cup wins. Indonesia with just the 1 World Cup win. That's as many as they have FIFA Football Manager World Cups. So the Football Manager players in Indonesia blazing a trail that the actual national team doesn't catch up with for 900 years. Guinea have won just the 1 World Cup as well. So we're getting a few one-time winners. China have won it 8 times. Like I say, lots and lots of England. And Wales have won it 3 times. 26 major honours for Wales. Hold on. Get Wales back in here. So they've won. Well, how do we see their major honours? I assumed nation history would tell me that, but apparently that information is not available. So we're 1,000 years in the future on what is already a buggy, glitchy game. We're not going to be able to see everything all the time. Like I said in the intro, on every previous version of FM, the game's fallen over dozens of times by this point and is literally hanging on by a thread. Weirdly, FM26 doesn't feel too bad. 1,000 years in the future, it feels the same as it does normally. Northern Ireland, 4 World Cup wins for Northern Ireland. Scotland are in there as well with 2 World Cup wins. But I think that's probably your limit of interesting stuff. We're back into the 500 years in the future stuff now. If you want to go into that in more detail, I did a video 500 years in the future, so you can go and watch that one. You'll be fine. So the Euros, England have won 98 times. Most recent winners of that, Lithuania. Belarus with a few wins as well. Quite a few wins for Belarus. Spain, Latvia, Wales are in there a few times. Quite a few times. Scotland with quite a few wins of the Euros as well. One thing I didn't notice on the World Cup was Brazil. Brazil, can I see Brazil, please? I want to see the Brazilian national team. How do I get to the Brazilian national team? Brazil, men's national team, just the 6 World Cup wins. Do they have 6 in real life or is it 5? Brazilian football has fallen off massively. The key player in the Brazilian national team is called Luis Probert, which, I'll level with you, isn't the most Brazilian name I've ever heard. So, sorry, Brazil. It's not going well for you. It's a disaster. But I think we'll probably draw a line under this one here for now. Like I say, I could explore this all day long. What we should do, we should look at the women's stuff as well. Let's look at the women's World Cup. World Cup Women's World Cup. 49 times winners are Norway. So Norway win the Women's World Cup more than anybody else. There you go. Brazil are good at women's football. That's the future of football in Brazil. It's a women's sport there. The women's national team, much better than the men's national team. Canada doing quite well as well. And then we've got the Women's Euros as well, haven't we? So we can... Women's Euros, past winners, again, lots of Norway on there. But yeah, we will draw a line under that video here, boys and girls. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything else you would like me to dig out of this database. Do you want to see me keep going and see how far we can holiday it? I know people are going to be interested how long it took to get us to this point. 4 days, 10 hours, 34 minutes to holiday 1,000 years into the future is not too shabby. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.